Hey everyone, so today we have some about eBay auction versus an eBay buy it now. And some sellers, all they do is run auctions. All they do is run buy it now. Some sellers, they do best off buy it now. You best off run items that they don't might not what they want. Or you can like lower prices. There's not really many on there. You don't know what the true value is of it. If you want to do buy it now, because you know it's gonna sit for a while. So yeah, let's take a look. So I have 330 starters. Like, but that isn't really but just some of these stuff I saw like Daniel Color Screen. This it seemed we have $300, but some I don't think it's gonna be $300. Just these for I went first to high end screen. Someone might be more reasonably priced. So some of the stuff like this, maybe is totally over vintage. You could sell auction, sure, but what do you mean? Maybe not. I mean, there's so many out there that it's kind of hard just to sell it on auction. Same with these. These might sell. These might not. I mean, I think you will gamble selling on auction. I feel like so. These NASCAR books, maybe you could sell this on auction. Maybe not because some of the NASCAR stuff 6 rounds. So I don't know. So some stuff you might be throwing the river for auction for prices. And someone wants. And I mean, certain stuff like this, you can sell like auction or buy it now. I mean, you could sell an auction, but buy it now. Listing with this mug would actually sell a lot better than it would like an auction listing. Hey, I'll just show you my auction. Like this stuff like this. So I just want to get rid of it. But this actually mash up on would sell better at auction. I mean, I could put a price on say 50 cents a car. But I mean, there's so many lots of these out there that it's like kind of hard to price a lot, and I'd rather take a little less maybe, or get sold quickly or something like that. These DVDs are only selling at auction, and so I just threw them up on auction. Same with these manuals. They're throwing like these were thrown in like random auction sites. So I just test it out on auction. And sometimes on auctions you win, sometimes you lose. I love the auction I do. I really don't care. I just want it gone. Really. That is really what I do an auction for. And now this account, Granny74. I checked this person out. And all this account does is auctions. Starting at like $1.50, $2.50, $3.50, I think. Usually starting at like $1.50 plus shipping. That's all they start out at. But I start out at 99 cents. I do. I don't know. More tasting, I think. But anyways, like this one, that's all they do is auction at. Well, and there's some of this stuff like Holton Cans, Gloucester Cookbook. This is a unit for this cookbooks. The brand of cookbooks, like they just like do individual listings every single some of the books. They're like you're just individually sell each book on auction. And stuff on auction like this stuff like that's all they do. I'll show you some of these items in auction. Actually, all the stuff there, so this person's actually does work on auction. So I can't fault them. I can't really fault them. Like, actually, I'll show you some of these, like these necklaces. They're maybe random brands, vintage Chesapeake, Glassbeak necklace, Chesapeake. Might not be branded, so you don't know like the true value of them. So that's what makes sense. It's great. Looks like collection, but the vintage, use vintage necklaces. These vintage necklaces and vintage jewelry sells it pretty well. Like certain books might sell. Some books might sell like this book, so kind of use random books like Donovan Book Edition. Might not sell auction. But like this ball blue, a lot of them might sell auction. Might have to find the right buyer because it only sells auction. I don't know. Who knows? But anyways, 1930 ball blue can book or cookbook. This one's pretty rare to find. It's $90 cookbook. yeah, it's pretty hard to find online, and even in acceptable beat up condition, it's probably pretty hard to find something like this for the price plus shipping. It's pretty hard to find, and I would definitely like list one of these at auction. Like I know, but there are some more out there on there. This one, this not your Pacific. Pretty hard to find. I would just like auction. I could buy it in auction off that book. Probably I could have. But I didn't. I just buy it now. But like this one, I did an auction on. And I would, you can do an auction, no problem. Like these dolls, like they're like these brand must be a pretty popular brand that's selling on auction, and one's pretty rare. It's selling like this vintage Speed Review Auto Mirror. Like you don't know what it's for. Maybe universal, but it's vintage. And vintage auto parts sell. Yeah, I know you're kind of actually. These a few bids on auction. These vintage books, like maybe have some auction. Like these, like some of these books might sell on auction. Some of these books you might actually be able to sell on auction. Could you buy auction or buy it now on? You know, you could do. I know they would still get some bids either way. So vintage sterling silver pieces. Like this is a good auction. Vintage, the vintage. It's like vintage jewelry fashion piece. But it's vintage sterling silver. It's sterling silver. Yeah, it's foreign. It's Mexican. So it's foreign. So it's foreign jewelry. Sterling silver jewelry. Like this. Like this book. It actually sell pretty well. Victorian furniture. American Heritage. It's a collector book. It might not be worth a ton, but it gets a bid plus shipping. And there's Victorian. People like collecting Victorian pieces. These Teddy. Teddy. Plush poodle. Dog. Plush toy. Some people like to collect that stuff. And that would be worth a ton. That's out there. People like that. The old vintage copper pot. People like collecting that stuff. Just for decor and stuff. Use the vintage pin brochures. Bargain turtle. These might not be very collectible brands or very popular brands. But the fact is, vintage cream color. That's your inbox. Genius. The fact that it's old. It's vintage. It's not pink touch it up. It's a nice cream color. It's color that can go with a lot of stuff. And it's a ring box. We like collecting rings and jewelry and fashion. Or wish wearing stores or wedding rings and stuff like that. And it's made in USA. People like that. It's made in USA. So people like that. Like beauty projects. Some people like old things that are like unbranded. Maybe not vintage, but they're like stuff like that. And just like collecting that stuff. You know, stuff like that. A lot of this stuff actually sells on auction. Like cookbooks that are from different areas. Bridger salad book like this, something like this. Bridger salad book. Actually, it's pretty well on auction. Might be kind of common, might be kind of uncommon. Might be like a few sold on them, but there's something like this, but actually a perfect auction. This Bridger salad book. Some you might say, well, like this. On back, you might not find a lot of these on eBay. Or like a Cullen Corbett's cookbook sign. Like a signed cookbook, like old school signed cookbook. Might not find too many of them signed. Even if it doesn't get much money signed, let's say worth $5. Say it might be worth $10 without signing. Let's say if it's unsigned, it might be worth $5. But say signed, it might be worth say 10. You might not know what it's worth because there might not be many signs out there. These old popular aviation magazine books, you know, they're like really worn out, kind of tattered up. People still like collecting old magazines, even in poor condition. Condition might hurt a little bit selling it, but like it's like really good auction. And like a lot of these items that they sell, I mean, sometimes you might get a couple bids plus shipping on. You might not get a lot. You might get more waiting onto it for a while. But I also found a few pieces on this account that sell on auction. And I guess it depends on what item you sell. Frankly, to be honest, putting it on auction versus like a buy it now listing. I mean, Yeah, something like this. I mean, you could put on a back now, but if you 3 beautiful white line white lace, bright like like one that would go in like a little pocket, like a little pot, like a little breakfast pot. On top. These like vintage. These are like more decades, like 1950s. Like some like small edge here. Like 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 I believe that's what these are for. I believe. I could be wrong though. Um, but I believe that's what they are for. Surprising. Yeah. And they're one's ripped, but they're essentially unbranded one. They sell pretty well on auction. What I'm saying is you might not get enough on. You might not get a lot on auction. 827 plus 2 sufficient. It's not like a fortune on auction, but if I did like a buy it now, I mean it's kind of hard to price these unbranded ones. Sure, you can say they're worth this much. Sure, you can put a price on, but something like this, like the prices, some stuff like that, prices are over the market and just all over. Like, I like to not hold out. I just like to say put price on it and then take offers. I just like to auction off, and I'm not really disappointed. I'm not really like I could get this, I could get this, I could get that. I could go over the market with it, and I'm not really too mad if I get like $5. Like if I got this price for them, I'd be pretty happy with them. This is vintage metal midge toy train set. Like a train set card. A lot of these cards are like really not in the greatest shape. They haven't played with. They're like played with condition. Like some of these have paint wear and varying degrees, so they've kind of like played with condition. Or pretty much played with condition. Cars or trains, but they still fetched a decent profit. And like played with condition. Cars, like the Hot Wheels. So a lot of these played with condition. Yeah, they're not worth much played with condition. They're really not, but or they're like cars that aren't really worth a lot brand new anyways. So played with condition, they're not really worth a ton. Like these are still worth like a couple bucks a piece played with condition plus shipping. And so you can just sell them as is played with condition essentially. They're pretty much essentially as is played with condition. And and people know that. People are buying this stuff know it. Like this vintage doll. Proposed stock mailings. Like you get the little tag that came with when you buy. And then that's a doll. And yet some of these dolls, I like this doll. You can sell an auction. You can sell it by now. A lot of them, it's like 50-50 a lot of them sell an auction. Like, sell an auction, but if I have what's worth. Like yeah, so in like some of these books like Mother Lutherans and some of these old books that go to Smokey Bear. So, people like Smokey Bear. Smokey Bear's like when they have the commercial say, stop forcing, he's Smokey Bear. And it might be unbranded, but plush toy doll. Plush toy doll. People might like collecting that Smokey the Bear stuff. It might not be worth it. There's Smokey the Bear collectors out there. And like it might be unbranded. Brand, but brand no one knows about like these merch. Like children like children's activity. These children's activities. Vintage children's activities. Might have we'd be able to sell them on auction for more. These fishing stories book. Like this fishing stories book. Like you might this fishing stories book might just be like a buy it now item. Might be like these vintage box clippers, like cute cow jump over. Or like cow jump over. It's like everyone knows this cow jump over. I've heard about it. Heard it when you're in kindergarten or something. You read it. Yeah, you read it to you. Kindergarten teacher read to you and stuff like that. Preschool. And just the thing that has that graphic and has like the crayons, crayons, clip pencils. People like that. It says vintage sterling silvers, and like something like this. I see stuff like this all the time. I don't need to click on it, but actually that one I need to. I need to show you. I need to show you. Like all of the stuff that this person's on auction, they're actually like really good auction names to us. Games that still can get fetched a small profit on auction like this. Like it's vintage. It's sterling. It's a spoon. People like collecting old vintage spoons. It's like vintage. It's sterling silver. It has enamel orange blossom. That's orange tree blossom. There's like orange tree plant on it. And it's like sterling silver spoon. It has like a little embroiderment on there. Verona on there. And it has some use on it. Something like looks like this Spencerian steel pens. It's a vintage tin. I've never heard of Spencerian steel pens in my life. I've never heard of them. But people are just like collecting because it's old vintage tin. And I would like bid it. If I knew what it is, if I like to collect old vintage tins, I would definitely sell that on. I would definitely buy it. Because I'm gonna bid it up. Like it might not go for much, but something that like I'd be would bid on. And just like I like when I like buying auctions. I like selling auctions and buying stuff on auction or for selling auctions. That would be a cool thing. I'd auction it off. This vintage black and white Napoleon photo. Like, people know who Napoleon is. Like people know who he is. You know. And people, it's like the fact that it's vintage, the fact that it's a black and white photo of Napoleon. Like, Napoleon was in the black and white era photo, way before color was. But it's not like colorized, not colorized photo of him. It's not black and white. It's black and white. It's vintage. It's a pin. It has a C-stock class, which is vintage. So people like that stuff. Even though it doesn't go for much, not deeply shipping. So you got a huge, ginormous profit. So you get a few bidders interested. And I bid up and they think it's worth. Essentially, or do they give up? And vintage needs to keep advertising us. Coca-Cola give it a 2. Like, advertising us. So some people like advertising memorabilia. It's vintage advertising memorabilia. People like vintage advertising memorabilia. But there's a lot of people that are collecting Coca-Cola merchandise. Like lots of that Coca-Cola, lots of merchandise. And people collect that stuff. People like collecting that stuff. And it doesn't go for a ton on auction, as you see. It doesn't go for a ton. Like, you could pick this up at like a garage sale, like a flea market, or like a garage sale or flea market, or something like that. Or like for like 50, like a quarter, 50 cents if you buy it. And I got a quarter, you could buy it for a quarter. But I'm gonna get like $10 on eBay. I think it's Coca-Cola, then just give it 2. And 2, you can give a 2 on the horn, 2 ear horn, 2 ear whistle, something like that. And like this. I've never heard of Valley Farms ice cream. I don't think a lot of people have heard of Valley Farms. But the fact that it's a vintage ice cream cone, I think the fact that this sold is because it's a vintage ice cream cone. It has Bing Crosby on there. It's like a old school thing. People like these pins. Like this vintage Staghorn. Staghorn hand. There's like a Staghorn hand right there. People like collecting that. That on the right. It's vintage. It's made in Japan. So that's also kind of odd. Not odd, but foreign in Japan. It's Staghorn. On it. And people like collecting that stuff. Or people like that. Vintage Toco oil pin back one. It's like a bun you wear on your shirt. Pin back. It's like the traditional pins you wear, like that, the pin on them. It's like a pin. The traditional typical style pin. A button. But the fact that it's vintage, it's Toco oil. I've never heard of Toko Oil in my life, but I'm like, I want to be happy using Toko Oil. And people that collect like vintage advertising pins will definitely buy this. And this is definitely like auction item. I could, let's just say, like on this item, I wouldn't know what the price is at. Like that Toko Oil, I would not know what the price is at. Like sure, I could look up sold costs. Sure, I could. Find the pin I'm looking for on, like, say there's 50 vintage Toko Oil, 100 on eBay. I can find the one I want to put price at that. Sure, I could, but like it would be, you could just auction the thing off, call it good, send it out the door, and pretty awesome. Easy to ship, easy to list, easy, and you just get a few bids on it. So you get 5. Say you can put this vintage pin up at a garage sale or like a flea market. Or like a estate sale, like cheap. You may be able to price that quarter, 50 cents. You can get it for cheap, and you can flip it on there for good profits. And like this vintage Lappo antique. People like collecting like this vintage Lappo. People like collecting antique pin, antique. And it's antique, so people like collecting antique stuff. People like collecting antique items. But then it's a Lappo pin. So you got the people who like antique items, like we'll collect that. You got the people who like it's gold, it has 10k gold. It's a Lappo pin. So people they collect Lappo pins. And like I was saying, people like this antique Lappo. People collect antique items. And just because it's antique or vintage makes it worth a little more. And because it's a Lappo pin, people like collecting old pins. And I've never heard of Brotherhood about this, but it's like hunting related. So I'm sure there's people that hunt that never heard of Brotherhood about before. BOE. It's like a fraternity, like a hunting group. Like an old school hunting group. So people that hunt and stuff, like collect that, and it's like a pretty cool collection for someone who would like hunt and stuff. Like this, I might not know the price yet, but see that? I think people just bid on because it's antique, it's Lappo pins for old though. It's like hunting. You got all them people bidding up each other. Like, like some of these books, sure. Some books are just, like this one. People like collecting old glassware. Collectible glassware, 50, 40, 50, 60, 16 bucks. People like collecting glassware. It's like, the reason why I think it got some bits because it's vintage. It's short 40s, 50s, 60s. Vintage, antique vintage glasswares. Like antique, vintage. Like vintage glasswares. It shows you like what vintage glasswares brands are like and how to spot them. Something like that. And people like this thing. Like look at this. It's a vintage pinback one. Boom Route Trolley Trip. Pacific Electric Railway. It's Pacific Electric. It's promoting Pacific Electric Railway in Los Angeles. And I've like people who live in like Los Angeles and stuff like that know like people who've been on this balloon route trolley trip. You might get a free pin or something like that, or you get a pin like the souvenir, like the gift shop. In this train station, you might be able to. But you know what? Look at that. But for even to people who were on this trip back then, they didn't get a pin, or they want something because they were on the trip, or know someone who was, something like that, or they just collect like pin buttons, stuff like that, and it protects something like. And this one, it's vintage 1920s celluloid. So celluloid is definitely vintage. It's 1920s. That's good keywords. It's a pinback one. It's Walter Berry, and he's like a black and white. He's like a silent film movie star, like a silent film. He's like the silent films, like super early movies. And he's in them. He's well known, most well known film. People like collecting Walter Berry. People like old vintage pinback ones, like movie and film related. And this may not be worth a ton to see that. 426 plus 2 cents ship. With the shipping on it, it's 701. But you know what? I feel like collecting that stuff. It's pretty neat. This one, beautiful antique. That's the Holly Berry syrup. So it gets a vintage. It's an antique Christmas. It's an antique Christmas serving fork. And people like using, even like collecting antiques, antique forks, spoons, knives. People like collecting that stuff. And it's Christmas related. People like collecting Christmas stuff, especially now, November 5th. Especially now, a lot of people are thinking about Christmas. So if you have Christmas items, like definitely list it now. Definitely list it now. Or October. October. I know, definitely list it. So people buy it. Beatles, Pinback ones. People like collecting old. It's like music related. So people like collecting music related items. Well, definitely like buying this. And definitely like collecting vintage Pinback. It attracts a lot of people. It attracts people like collecting vintage Pinback ones. It attracts people like collecting Beatles merchandise, like the Beatles. It definitely attracts people who like the Beatles. It attracts people who like collecting vintage buns or and well, I'm just showing a bunch of these stuff up because certain stuff can put more on auction, like really well, like jewelry, and it's a sterling silver gold away. Yes, I can harp on the jewelry on a lot, but I'm not going to. Because people know that sterling silver. Yeah, I can just say that sterling silver, like, sells on auction, especially vintage. It's not vintage, but it's from Mexico, made in Mexico. It's that pendant. People like pendant. Religious people like pendant necklaces. Ugly, I like religious thing on there. So it's, cross orally. So kind of a cross orally. There's something on there. There's like holes on the ends, like in a person's arms. And like something for the body right there. Something so head and heel to it. That's me. And a thimble. Like this, like what I was saying about this was vintage. People like collecting Pinback buns. People like collecting buns. Or people like collecting buns. And people like collecting buns. This would be something that they would buy. Especially for people. Most of the people that would buy this would be Beatles fans. If you're a Beatles fan, you definitely want to buy this Pinback. You definitely would want to buy this. If you're a Beatles fan, you don't have these. You definitely want to buy these on auction. You definitely bid on these. If you're a Beatles fan. If you're like collecting music related items, you like collecting buns, especially that's vintage, people like that stuff. And Nahabo, it's like Native American. Wallace Hedring, you like collecting Native American names. So, or no, someone's name. Like vintage coloring books from like when they were kids and stuff like that, or stuff like that, or you just like collecting vintage coloring books. Fraternity pins. People like collecting fraternities. And eat that table. You like collecting vintage fraternity pins. You like collecting stuff like 10 cakes, so it's like this vintage, right? Promotional booklet. It's like a promotional cookbook. It's vintage, and like today, like the right men say a lot of copies made of this book, but today there's not many that are surviving. And especially all the books are like really torn, worn out, and tattered. Actually, for it to be in decent shape, people go buy them for that. It's fruits and flowers. One thing was people like collecting, like people that are into flowers and stuff. And flower books, people like that. But the vintage bread machine recipes. People like collecting bread machine recipes from back in the day. Like these antique books. Like games, like vintage games. People like this game might not be worth a ton, but people like it might not be complete, but people like just collecting the Giant Razor Blade Planner. Like this one. People like collecting old vintage tins. Never the magic batting polished. It's like all polished. Someone that sold polish on here. Sold polish back in 1930. You just like collecting old vintage tins. It's like some stuff like that. People like collecting old magazines. And it had like fish on it. So, I don't know. It might be the fishing theme, I don't know. But like a lot of this stuff, like I understand, like certain items at auction sell really well, and certain items I'm buying now sell well. You just kind of have to know what you're dealing with. Like, I mean, you can list anything you want at auction, but I usually just try to keep it to like stuff like that I know what's at auction. Or maybe I might experiment trying stuff that sells at auction. I could like try not test it at auction, see how much I get for it at auction. Might not get as much as I couldn't buy it now, but I might be able to flip it quick. And some of that stuff I might try now. Especially some of these booklots or books that like I could buy it now, say $1 a piece. I might be tempted to pay it, like buy it. I might be able to tempt it to list at auction. So we'll see. So that's anyway. Take care.